be better. All right, so if you are just joining, let me see if I can turn a little bit more. There we go. Here is the project we are working on today. So if you're just joining, thank you for joining me for the 12 days of Christmas. Today is demo day, and I am sharing how to craft a custom socks box. So this is what I'm sharing here. It's kind of deep. I am going to walk you through creating a custom box, sharing with you how you measure what you need and what the basic tools are that you're going to need. So let's get started. And I'm going to put this aside and tell you my basic tools for this project again are the Simply Scored. So I'm going to put that in position. We're using our Simply Scores today. We also need a bone folder. We'll need our paper snips. We'll need adhesive like glue and perhaps some Stampin' Dimensionals. And these are the supplies we're going to need. So let me pull some of these things out of the way. Today I'm crafting with a pretty little set called Mistletoe Magic. And I don't know, I haven't seen very many projects with this stamp set. Am I the only one that likes it? It is in the Holiday Mini. I thought it was really sweet, the little branches of mistletoe with the pretty bow. And of course, it measures up to my A+ stamp set when it has art and it has greetings. It's got a great Merry Christmas there as well. And it does come with the die cuts. So easy crafting with the stamp set and the dies. For our supplies, we are using crumb cake, and I'm going to need 2 sheets of crumb cake cardstock, a scrap of shimmer white, basic white for layering, also some DSP for layering. This is from the, let's see if I can remember. It is the Autumn DSP. It is still available. The flip side has some pretty graphics, black and white graphics on it. Oh, so Barb says you have the stamp set. So cool, because as I said, I have not seen too many samples with it online. I also have some 3/8 of inch scraps of cherry cobbler. So actually they're not scraps, they were cut to measure. They're 3/8 inches wide, and I've just got various lengths. You'll see what I need those for as we decorate the box. I am using 3 colors of ink. I'm using cherry cobbler, mossy meadow, and soft suede, and then also my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. That's what I'll be stamping with. I'm going to finish it off with some embellishments, the Brush Metallic, and then Wink of Stella. All right, so let's get started actually with the box. I'm going to bring in my Simply Scored. And let me share with you first. Move that up a little bit and move this aside. So I determined the size of the box that I needed by looking at the gift, and I'm going to open up and share with you. This one's a little bit tight. I have a sock box. Those are 2 pairs of socks, and they're kind of rolled. And so I arranged them the way I wanted to, and then I kind of set them down either on grid paper or something like your Simply Scored, and put them in a corner and measured. My box needs to be about 7 inches long, about 3.5 inches wide, and then it needs to be kind of deep, so it's about 2 inches deep. And those are the measurements that I used as I added together. And I did want to make the box out of just 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock. So the ordinary rule of thumb would be that you make your lid 1/8 of an inch bigger, but if I had done that, I would have needed to use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So there, and that's the reason why this one's a little bit more of a snug fit. I just kind of push the ends in and force the lid on there, and it works. All right, so now let me share with you. The top and bottom are going to be exactly the same for this particular box. Again, Ideally, you would want to have your top lid about 1/8 of an inch bigger, but we're going to get by with just one sheet of paper. It measures 7.5 across, and the way I got that measurement, I took the width of the box I needed, so it's 3.5, and I added 2 inches, so 3.5 plus 2 plus 2 would be 7.5. I am going to score at 2 inches. That's the height of the box. I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to score again at 2 inches on the other side, and again at 2 inches, and one last score at 2 inches. That's going to give me a box that's 2 inches tall, 7 inches across, and 3.5 inches wide. And I need to do that 2 times because I need a top and a bottom. So 2 inches, rotate again 2 inches. Oops, that one went a little bit crazy. 2 inches. And then one last time, 2 inches. All right, so we are done with our Simply Scored. You're going to see once you've made one box, they're pretty simple to make in theory. All right, I'm going to grab my bone folder. That's another one of my basic tools, and I'm going to construct this lid and bottom the exact same way. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold and burnish on all sides. So how many of you have already finished your shopping and are on to gift wrapping? I am a late arrival at shopping. I haven't done very much shopping. I'm finally starting to collect my thoughts on what I want to go look for. And I prefer to shop in the morning during the week as opposed to at the weekend, because at the weekend it just gets crazy. It's too many people and too crowded for me. All right, so I've scored and burnished on all sides. Next, I'm going to bring in my paper snips, and I am going to come in and I need to cut the tabs. So I'm going to cut the same side on all 4 sides, if that makes sense. So since I cut this one, I'm going to go opposite side and the same horizontal tab. I'm going to rotate it and do the same on the other side. And I'm just snipping up to the 2-inch score line. I'm going to do the same up at the top. All right, now I'm going to create a little dart right in here. So I'm coming over maybe like a 1/16 of an inch. It's going to go at an angle. That just kind of declutters that little fold, so it won't be bulky. I guess it's debulking. And then I'm going to do the same on this tab. And remember, our lid and our bottom in this instance is the same measurement all the way around. All right, I'm going to do the same on my bottom. And I went with crumb cake thinking this box could be reused just by pulling the decoration off and adding any other season or celebration. I'm going to be decorating it for Christmas, but you could easily use this crumb cake color for a Valentine's Day box or for a birthday gift box as well. All right, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to debulk it. So just cutting off the tiniest little sliver. It just makes your box lie flat better. I remember back to the first box that I crafted. I was just totally confused with what I was doing. It didn't make sense to me. I was just following along with the oral instructions, and I just couldn't wrap my brain around how it was going to work out. A few boxes later, and it all makes sense. All right, now we're going to take my favorite aggressive adhesive. We're going to put some Tombow liquid glue right on those tabs. And I just kind of do a little rectangle. And I like the Tombow liquid glue. It's very aggressive, and your box is going to stick. Now what I'm going to do is bring this up and align it to the score and the edge of the box. So you see those are just aligned there. Now I'm going to say this is a very basic box. You could add some extra support. Again, you would need a bigger sheet of paper. We'd have to go up to the 12 by 12. If we added an extra score and tuck for the box, it would make it a little bit more rigid. But I think for just maybe a few uses, this kind of construction is going to work out just fine. All right, and I'm going to do the same up here. So really simple. Again, this one's 2 inches deep, and it's perfect sizing for a box, or maybe even those little slipper socks right there. And I'm going to repeat. So I've got one, the bottom or the lid. In this case, they're both the same. And I'm going to repeat with the aggressive adhesive on all sides. And I know some of the projects that I've got coming up, you will see other boxes during the 12 days of Christmas. This one's the basic, because you can do a very customized size. I'm going to have other boxes specifically for specific gifts. So if you haven't been with me for the first days of Christmas, you can go over to the YouTube channel, just Stamp with Anna Marie, and catch the other projects that I have been presenting. All right, so we have a top and a bottom, and now we are going to decorate. So what I'm going to do is bring in some stamping and some coloring, and this will go, I'm going to go ahead and stack it together. So this is where I'm saying you just kind of need to pinch in the ends, force it to fit. This is where it would be ideal to have it 1/8 bigger, 1/8 of an inch bigger, but this is going to work fine. All right, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to bring in my stamping. Because I'm going to be watercoloring with my inks, I'm using shimmer paper, white shimmer paper. It's really my favorite paper for watercoloring. There is watercolor paper, but it has different texture to it. This is the one I prefer. So I'm going to take that large branch of mistletoe, and I'm going to, when I have a large stamp, I flip the stamp over and then bring the ink up to it. And the same would be the case if I was using an ink spot. Rather than making the stamp meet the ink, I flip it over and just tap down. And I'm going to stamp twice. I want 2 branches of mistletoe. And I'll do a second one. So today's project is going to take a little bit longer to demonstrate because I am watercoloring. And I didn't do it in advance, so I could share with you how I did mine. Second branch, and I'm also going to use the ribbon that's in the stamp set, or the bow I should say, and that's just going to be stamped down. All right, and one more bit to stamp. Let's see if I can move that out of the way. This basic white measures, let's see, 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. It's what we're going to build our focal point on. You'll notice that I wrote the dimensions on the back, and then I've already got some ink on there. So hopefully I don't mess up, and I don't need to flip my paper over because I'm really risking it. I have only one stab at it. And again, this one is the greeting. It comes from the stamp set. It's a nice cursive Merry Christmas. And I'm going to stamp it in the lower right, about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom and the edge, maybe 1/2 inch. And I'm pressing firmly. Perfect. All right. So I'm happy with that. I am done with my stamping. We are going to go on. I'll let that dry up here. We're going to go on to watercoloring. So let me share with you how I watercolored. I am watercoloring with my inks and a painter. And so I've already got my water supply in that little receptacle. I'm going to start off with the stick or the branch, and I'm using soft suede, and I'm going to get some ink onto the lid and flip that over. You can see I've got a nice supply of ink there. Let me move these out of the way. And I'm going to squeeze there and kind of mix that up because I want it light. I don't want to start off really dark. If I want it darker, I'm going to add to it. And I'm just going to do, I've got the finest tip painter. I'm just going to do some light strokes. And I'm going to do the coloring in layers. And you could use blends if you have them. I like the subtle watercoloring technique. So, and it might take a little bit longer because you have to have more control with the brush. And I'm just going to come in, do a little bit of the branches there. And of course, I'm doing 2 for this project. So what do you think? Do you prefer the blenders or do you like watercoloring? They definitely have 2 different looks. They are very different in application. And in this case, the blends would have all the colors available. There is cherry cobbler, there is mossy meadow, and a soft suede. Sometimes the blends are limited because there aren't all colors. So, not sure about you, but I think this year I have a couple of sock gifts on my list. The ones you saw, of course, with the little dog, the Scotty dog socks. But it's just kind of amazing, all the variety of sock themes you can find. And so it makes it a really nice gift. You can actually tailor it to the peeps you're giving them to. All right, so let's see if I've added all the... Now, if I want it a little bit darker, I'm just going to go in and do a second layer. And I might do that in like shadowy areas or where the stamped image has the little lines, because that indicates a darker spot right there. But it just kind of adds for the texture. So I know tomorrow I have another box coming up for you. It will be a card box, and I think you'll like it. It's a little bit different. More of a theme card, or sorry, more of a theme box than just the basic box. And by the way, the box that we created today, if you don't have a Simply Scored, you could use your stamping trimmer. Just use the scoring blade. That would work as well. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So Margaret's asking if I use the watercolor paper. I prefer to use the shimmer paper. It has a nice texture to it, and it's got a little bit of sparkle. The watercolor paper certainly takes more moisture but and you do get a different look. It gives you, the watercolor paper also has more texture. Did I say that? So it absorbs more water, means you're putting more on there. I just prefer to use the shimmer paper. I think it just comes down to preference. All right, so next I'm going to go ahead and do my leaves, and for that I'm using the Mossy Meadow. So yeah, I like making the boxes too, especially since we're not gifted them from the department store anymore. And it's kind of nice that just adds to your gift when you've crafted the presentation. I love that. And it's nice that you can make the right size. Okay, so I'm going to start off on the leaves. I'm applying a really moist. So what I did was drop lots of water onto the ink so that I could make it a little bit more watery. And I want to go light. And I know that I'm going to be coming back in with another layer. But to start off with, I want it really light. And again, just taking your time and applying it throughout. One more time, I've got the fine tip brush, or the finest. There's 3 different brush tips in the Stampin' Up! Assortment of painters. And I have a tendency to put too much ink in there. I really want it runnier as opposed to dark. To start, I'd much rather add than look at it and realize that I've put too much ink on there. This little Mistletoe Magic is a really sweet set. It has a smaller branch as well, and let's see, 4 different sentiments in it. The die set also has some extra dies to it that don't cut any of the stamped images. They're just extras that you can embellish with. And it looks like I have one more on this branch. All right, now I'm going to flip it and let this dry a little bit while I do the second branch. And I'm kind of excited today. I actually have the tree up and it is half decorated. It has been slow going this year, just for a variety of reasons, but I'm happy. The tree up makes me more in the spirit of Christmas. I have been crafting for Christmas for well over a month, and it's just been, I guess that's been my focus, is just the crafting as opposed to the decorating and the shopping. However, I think I'm doing fine. It's barely December 6th, right? I know what makes me panic is I see many other Stampin' Up! Demonstrators already totally off Christmas, doing birthday card classes and such, and I'm thinking, but what happened to Christmas? We're barely coming into the throes. And I know what the thinking is. Ideally, you would have already purchased all of your holiday crafting supplies, so it's kind of hard to at this point to show you something new and think that you're going to go to the store and shop. But I think I want to savor the season. We're barely at December 6th. We have loads of time before Christmas. All right, so now you can see I've added that Mossy Meadow all over. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to put some more color, make it a little bit darker in certain areas. Maybe the lower area of the little leaf where it's still attached to the branch, and maybe down the center. Just give it a little variegated look right in through here. And I love that I am not going to have to hand snip these. So that's a plus. This does have the coordinating ties. All right, so I'm going to move on to the second one here. It's a big branch of mistletoe here. I think also you could maybe stamp on colored cardstock and maybe just add a little bit of color on that. You don't necessarily have to color the stamp set. It could just be inked up on colored cardstock. All right, I'm almost done with one branch. Let me flip it and can start off the new branch. Again, just a little extra layer. All right. I don't know, does anybody put it mistletoe anymore? That used to be the little custom, didn't it? I haven't seen any mistletoe for sale in the stores, or maybe you can just go snip it from your garden. I don't have any in my garden, but you don't see it as decoration very often anymore. Maybe we're off any kind of physical contact. I don't know. Why is that? I think it's a pretty leaf. I like the shape of it. All right. And after I finish these leaves here, we'll have one last thing. We're going to put some color on the berries. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm just going to kind of squeeze the water out and wipe it on the paper. And I'm ready to add my cherry cobbler. And I'll do the same thing and flip that open. And I'm using the same technique. I'm going to lay down a light coat of color and then come back in and add to darken the berries. Oh, see, this one has more color, which is fine. We do want the berries darker. Oh, and I see one petal that I've neglected to color. So Barb says, your tree is up. You've done a lot of your shopping, but not all. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're shopping. I'm glad you're in the season. I know some people, at least, like, I admire my sister. She used to get started really early with gifts, and it worked out nicely because she was always spot on with her gift giving, always creatively thinking and picking up just the right thing for each family member. I think I have a tendency to wait, not till the last minute, but certainly closer to the day. And I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because my brain doesn't start strategizing and making a list and calculating right away. I think I need the pressure of the deadline. And it used to be that if you waited till the bitter end, the shelves were bare and you'd miss out on the sizes and the selection. And I don't know if that's true or not anymore. I think most of my shopping is just clicking and pressing submit. I do like to go into the stores though to see what's available and to touch it, right? It's totally different shopping in person than online. I think the advantage to the online shopping though is you don't have to hunt around for the size. You just put in what you need and it finds it for you, as opposed to you hunting around to find the size or having to hunt somebody down to help you find the size, because I know where I shop, there are very few helpers available. It's hard to even have someone take your payment. And so it comes back to my story about the customer service at the department store. It's like, what customer service? There aren't peeps in the store to help with that anymore, sadly. All right, you can see I'm kind of adding a little bit more color on the berries. Almost done, but I am going to have to come back in and fill in that one little petal. And I have to admit, I have been distracted as well because I received my pre-order box. Demonstrators had the chance to pre-order from the upcoming mini catalog on December 1st, and I did, and my box arrived, and it's hard not to crack open any of the stamp sets or the papers because I'm still focused on Christmas, right? But it's there, it's waiting. All right, I am going to come back in so you can see where I am at this point. I still want those berries a little bit darker, and you can see that little petal that I need to come back in and do. And it looks like I also have to do the ribbon still, or the bow. So I'm adding another layer, and that just helps with the paper as well, because you don't want to oversaturate it. You need to let it dry a little bit and then keep adding the color. So if you were doing watercolor paper, you wouldn't have to wait between the applications as much. You still have to wait for it to kind of dry, or you could use a heat tool to help you along. So these beautiful cherry cobbler berries are almost done. All right, and then next we're going to go into the ribbon, and I'm going to start off with the same technique. I'm going to add a little color to start, and this one is a very narrow ribbon, kind of like the tree branch or the wood on the tree branch. So I'm just going to take my time doing it, and it could be therapeutic if you like coloring. And if you don't, you might want to consider using the colored cardstock. So a couple more strokes. Hello, Sonia. Thank you for joining, and thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. I know lots of peeps don't like to comment or let me know you've popped in. I appreciate it when you do. All right, we're almost done here. And if you came in late, we are crafting custom boxes. Specifically, I am doing a box for socks. We've already created the box. Now we're doing the decorating. And I am using the Mistletoe Magic bundle with the pretty mistletoe and a red ribbon. And I'm watercoloring on shimmer paper. So there, in a nutshell, that's what's going on during today's 4th day of the 12 days of Christmas. I know it's happy hour time. I don't have a cocktail today. I have just a little mug of a hot bevy. My mixologist has been taking a break lately. We are just exhausted. For those of you who join me every once in a while, you know I have 2 new pups in the house and they are exhausting. Today was one-on-one training, and I know I know it's exhausting for the puppy because he slept on the way home, just in my arms in the car. Too funny. Anyway, the trainer said he is doing great. We do have some things we need to work on, but overall, he's a pretty good pup. All right, so one more layer on the ribbon. I want a little bit darker, and I am going to be adding Wink of Stella, which seems to add a little bit of color to it, and you could even color with the Wink of Stella brush tip. I'm just going to add a little bit more color in here. And again, in those darker areas. All right, let me bring back in my Mossy Meadow to do that one petal, and then to clean the brush, I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of water and wipe down on the paper. And back in the Mossy Meadow to do that one little branch or petal. Easy, and then a little bit of dark. There we go. So all set. All right, so there is my watercoloring. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's pretty. I love the red berries. They give that nice pop of color. And we are ready to die cut. So this stamp set, or this die set, requires the standard cut and emboss machine. One of the dies is a little bit large. So I'm going to bring in the big guy. And the sandwich is going to be the platform, the shim, and the cutting pad. So 1, 2, 3. I'll go ahead and put my cardstock down and bring in my dies. All right. So let's see if I can align that. Not sure if you can see in there. Let's see if I can push it up in place and come over. So sometimes I do use washi to keep it in place. It seems like it's going to stay there. Then I'm going to bring in my bow die and add my second cutting plate right on top without shifting that around. Oops. So I am going to add a little bit of washi because it's just kind of shifting around and I don't want too much white around the image in the wrong places. Let me bring back that. There we go. And I'll go ahead and do the mistletoe as well. So let's see if I put it into view, you can kind of see a little bit better. All right, that'll make it stay in position so it won't be shifting around. And crank it through. Go ahead and release those two. There's my bow and the first mistletoe branch. And then I'm going to go ahead and add or cut the second, clear that off. My bottom plate is well cut. There you can see all the scratches on there, all the cut lines on there. And the cardstock tends to kind of just dig in to the plate. So I have to make sure to get those extra pieces out. Otherwise it does show up on my paper, my next die cut. All right, one last crank. And put that down there. And I'm gonna grab that second mistletoe. Release that. And there's my second branch. All right, let's decorate. I'm going to start off with that DSP from, oh, again, I can't remember the autumn paper. Autumn Blessings. It's in the holiday mini catalog. I like the back side too, the black and white. This measures 6 3/4 by 3 1/4. To this, I am going to be layering my basic white, which was 6 1/4 by 2 3/4. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little fake ribbon just by taking that 3/8 inch of cherry cobbler. Let's see if yep. I probably should have measured how much. Yep, but that's just about right. I did that right. All right, let's see if I can pick that up. And this is just going to go right across the top, almost as though I was wrapping the gift with ribbon. And I'm going to snip off the excess with my paper snips. And I'm going to bring in a second strip and do the same. This one's going to go perpendicular. Do that. And then I'm going to snip this as well. All right, this gets matted on the DSP flat adhesive. I think I'm getting to the edge of, or the bottom of this bottle. And right through here, I'm going to have about 1/4 inch all the way around. So I've got a nice little present going on there. And the first one, I'm going to look at these and see which one I like better. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom. It's going to be flat adhered. So I'm just going to put little dots, little trail of Tombow liquid glue. Somebody's talking. Okay, this, and I'm just going to use my greeting as a guide to where to lay it down. Right up through there, flat adhered. Make sure it's stuck down. Then the second layer is going to be popped up with dimensionals, and I'm using the minis because there's lots of narrow bits on this image. And I do want to support all the little leaves. I don't want it to fold over or rip off, so I want to make sure that I've got lots of support on here. And this is exactly why I like the minis, because I'm not afraid to use a lot. If I was using standard size, I'd be using like 1/4 or 1/3 of the dimensionals. There we go. So that's quite a few. It's going to be well supported. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of those. And these little dimensional coverings wind up in the darndest places, right? I craft downstairs mostly, and it's kind of comical to find them in the upstairs bathroom. All right, let's see. And let's see. I'm just kind of gauging. If it looks a little bit shiny, it means the covering is still on. All right. Now this is going to be layered atop. Just, let's see, like So all right, so then I'm going to do the ribbon, and what I'm going to do for the ribbon is I do want this dimensional, but I'm going to do some double stacking because this is going to go atop a layer that already has dimensionals. The ears of the ribbon are going to be off. They're not going to be supported by a layer, so I'm going to double stack them. That one, the center just needs one. And this is just going to go right like so. And then see the little ears that are not on dimensionals, they've got two tucked behind. And we're almost done. This is going to be added to the lid of the box. So this is a box for socks, two socks, or two pair, I should say. Just like so. I've got liquid glue all over. I'm going to have a little bit of a border all the way around. And I think it's a pretty box, right? Not finished yet. I'm going to add some embellishments, and also I'm trying to clean up here, a little Wink of Stella. So it's amazing what a brush of Wink of Stella will do. I'm just going to put them on the berries right all the way around. And again, it's just on the berries. You could do the petals as well, because the mistletoe does have like a little furry leaf, I think. But it's just going to make a difference with the Wink of Stella right there. Ah, thank you, Sonia. All right, a couple more things. Let's put the brush metallic adhesive back dots on here. Thank you, Sandy. I love this little mistletoe magic. It's kind of sorry that it's taken me so long to create with it. I'm going to bring in my take your pick, and I'm going to add some metallic dots. Oh, thank you, Margaret. Margaret says it turned out very pretty. Thanks. And thanks for sticking with me. I know that this project took a little bit longer. Lots of coloring and die cutting. And let's see if we slip. I'm going to put it up here. All right. There is my box for socks using the mistletoe magic and created with basic tools. Use that scoring, or that Simply Scored, your foam folder, your paper snips. Hello, Susan. Welcome in, even though you're late. Thank you. You can see the finished project. It is a custom box for socks. I gave you the theory behind sizing it up and how to score and cut and assemble it. You can catch the entire edited video over on YouTube. It'll be up shortly. And just to confirm, I'm going to share with you, here's my original. This does accommodate 2 pair of socks, so super cute, right? I think it's pretty cute. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate you taking the time to join me and share a little bit of stamping time with me. I hope that you can join again tomorrow, same time. I'll have another project for you, another box, in fact, but a very different kind of box. So thank you so much for joining. If you are shopping in the online store, be sure to drop a kit in your cart and help me meet my kit challenge. So again, thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow, hopefully.